All right, so these are the offerings that I'll be speaking about today. Try to get through things quickly. Just so that everyone's aware, Toronto Hydro is representing the city limits of Toronto, so the M postal code. So the first tool that I want to talk about is Toronto Hydro has procured Open Technologies Virtual Decarbonization Audit Tool. So what it does is it pulls data from Energy Star Portfolio Manager. You also need to answer about 25 building questions to further optimize the energy model. And then it spits out this energy report, which can then be further set for goals, manipulating energy and GHG reductions, as well as optimizations such as lowest carbon abatement or minimizing the impact of the incremental load when you electrify. And the purpose of this tool really is just to help customers better understand, as they're thinking about decarbonizing, what would they need to do to actually achieve this? This doesn't replace a full energy audit by any means, but it's a good first starting point. So if you're trying to have those early first conversations, say with a condo, and they're just trying to understand like what would it take to actually get to net zero, this generates recommended actions, as you can see at the bottom. And you can then play around with them. And as you change the order, as many of you are probably aware in this room, you put insulation first. It means the energy reduction of an HVAC system will be smaller, or vice versa. But for many customers and individuals out there that aren't experts, this just shows that interactive effect and gives you that little bit of information. The next tool that I want to talk about, this is something that Toronto Hydro built in-house, but was verified by third-party engineers. This is our heating load estimator. So the purpose of this tool is to answer the question, if I electrified my gas heating, how much extra capacity would I need to ask Toronto Hydro for? And I'll explain why that's relevant in a moment. So what the customer needs to do is provide us their monthly gas data. We'll fill out this Excel sheet for you. We'll pull hourly aggregated electrical data, which is what you can see then with the graphs on the far right, or left in your case, to just show what the winter versus summer peaks are. And then it brings up to this table, which, again, many people in the room can probably figure out, oh, well, if it's an electric boiler, it's going to be quite large. As I improve my COP, improve my efficiencies, obviously the amount I need to ask for is less. But again, this is a good conversation starter for a lot of customers. The role of Toronto Hydro's Climate Action Team is to help drive electrification and decarbonization by removing barriers. And the first step is obviously education. Many of the people in this room are the consultants, the ones that will actually turn these things into reality. And we're hoping that we can kind of help tee you up, warm up the customer so that they can understand that, yeah, you may think that electric boiler is the simplest, easiest solution, but it's going to take a while to add that extra load, or it's going to be very expensive to do the electrical upgrades. So maybe think about a heat pump, which might be a better solution. There have been customers, just as a side note, who thought they were going to put electric boilers in, and when they saw that they needed 2.5 megawatts of extra capacity, they changed their tune a little bit. And so why we created this is because one of the things that utilities can offer customers is what's called a non-binding estimate, which I'll be speaking about later in this presentation. But one of the inputs that you need is how much capacity do you want to ask for? The utilities won't tell you how much capacity is available at your building, but if you ask them for a certain amount, say I want 900 kilowatts of capacity, they're more than happy to tell you if that's available or not and when it will be. We also launched our clean tech directory. So the purpose of this is to help customers, if they don't have someone already in mind to actually implement the projects, they can go to our website and we have a list, and it's filterable and searchable of the different types of customers, such as solar installers, heat pump installers, consultants, and so forth. Where it has benefit for my team as the large buildings team, obviously, as I mentioned before, we've talking to customers, we've done some open audits, we've done a heating load estimator, customers excited to install a heat pump, but we're not the ones that do that. We don't do the design work. We would then direct them to the clean tech directory. So again, I should also mention all these slides, I've given it to Lucia. They can share it with you, so you don't have to worry about taking pictures. You can get this deck after as well. Another thing that was just launched in August, so it's quite hot off the press, is our data exchange. What this does is it connects your Energy Star Portfolio Manager account with your utility account. And then once it's all set up, Toronto Hydro, as the data becomes available, will automatically auto-upload the monthly aggregated electrical data into your Energy Star Portfolio Manager account. So for the city as well as the EWRB reporting, energy, water reporting, and benchmarking requirements that any 50,000 square foot and above building needs to do. Once you've set this up, you'll never have to enter in your electrical consumption again if you're in Toronto. So it's fairly simple to do. Again, there's more steps than just the three, but obviously it's have your energy star portfolio manager account, connect it to Toronto Hydro's energy reporting, share your property, and then it takes a few weeks to get that set up. And then once it's set up, you never have to think about it again. There are some, obviously, eligibility requirements at the moment. Right now, we're looking at just buildings that are 50,000 square feet and above. We are slowly working towards lowering that threshold down to 10,000 square feet as reporting requirements change. You do need to have, obviously, a common element as the owner of the building. And for privacy purposes, there is a minimum number of accounts that need to be for that site if you want us to aggregate that data. So for multi-residential, it's 5 accounts. For commercial customers, it's 3 accounts. There is one additional caveat, which is, I'll use the commercial one as an example. If you have a strip mall, you have 1 giant grocery store and 2 small buildings, because it's sort of easy to reverse engineer what the consumption of the grocery store is, we would unfortunately not be able to aggregate that for you. And so you would need to get permission from each of those tenants for us to then upload that data. Now, if you're just looking at EV charging, we do have an EV charging process. It's not really my team's specialty, but there's another team within the climate action that can support with that. And there's a whole EV connection process. The main focus of this is if you're just looking at doing EV charging only and you want to get an idea of, what's the capacity, how much is it going to take to get the system upgraded and timelines, you can go through this process to get that information. And it's also a process that has been set by the Ontario Energy Board, so it should be consistent across all utilities in Ontario. So again, there's forms and things to fill out to start that process. Now, for everything else, there's the non-binding estimate, which is what I alluded to before. And so this is probably one of the things that utilities can provide for customers, and I think is quite powerful. So by providing that capacity you're looking for, your location, and when you approximately want it, Toronto Hydro's new development team can come back to you and say there's capacity at the feeder level, so the wires, capacity at the transformer level, as well as what ballpark costs to connect, as well as ballpark timelines. So why that's powerful is that, as you're doing, an OSHRA level 3 audit and you're trying to get the full picture of what you need to do, adding this extra little bit of information, although a very high level estimate and a snapshot in time, can help maybe guide those conversations. Additionally, if you're working or are a multi-site customer in Toronto, looking at all your buildings within that portfolio and doing non-binding estimates for all can help find which building will be, as I like to say, the lowest hanging fruit to connect. And so then you can then focus on that building first, meet your timelines, and get that project implemented. And as time progresses, different buildings will become more easily able to connect. And I'm pretty sure we can all agree you're not going to do all your buildings in 1 year anyways. So this then helps kind of plan out your entire portfolio and your decarbonization plan. This is a snapshot in time. So if you're looking at something, several years down the road, I'd probably wait till you're getting closer to thinking about that project, because the grid, although all the wires don't move, the flow of electrons do move throughout the building, the system. And so what may be challenging today may be easy tomorrow, and vice versa. So the most important thing is, as I mentioned last year, talk to us early, have those early conversations, because we can help navigate the process. Now, the last thing that some of you may be aware, and I'm sure Electra's probably going to talk about this too, the ISO has engaged the LDCs, the hydro companies, to help promote and increase program participation into the Save on Energy program. And so if you're in Toronto, my team can assist you with all the various Save on Energy programs. So the first one is retrofit, and things that I like to flag, because we care about climate action, is heat pumps, as well as there are displaced load solar incentives now across the entire province, which you need to work with your LDCs to understand if the short circuit capacity is available, and therefore collaborating with us as well as your solar installer can make the process a lot more efficient. If you're not looking at CapEx projects, so retrofit programs really good at paying for those, large CapEx projects. Instead, you're looking at doing some low cost, no cost solutions or energy optimization. Then I would recommend looking at the existing building commissioning program, or also known as EBCX, or the EPP program. I'm not going to get into all the detail. Again, I'll be sharing these slides. They basically have different ways of getting incentives. So talking to us early, we can try to figure out which program will be best for you because we're agnostic to which program to use. And then again, more recent, there is the Energy Manager program. It is different than it was before. So if you remember previously, there were energy targets. This new Energy Manager program is more focused on being a champion of energy efficiency within the organization, and so it can help fund. Additionally, if you already have an energy manager, you can also fund like an analyst to support your existing team already. And then this deck was made before last week, but the new industrial program called Accelerate has just been launched last week. It pays 30 cents a kilowatt hour. There's up to $100,000 in study funding to look at these projects, but these are for your large, complex, more process-driven programs and need to save at least 600 megawatt hours of electrical savings. So happy to talk further. And if you have any questions, I maybe make time, or we can always talk later during lunch.